Here to discuss that and much more is Alexa Von Tobel, co-founder and managing partner at Inspired Capital. Welcome, Alexa. Such a busy day. We really appreciate you taking the time out. You know I have to start talking about Robinhood and the Gamestop hearing today. What are you looking out for?
So first of all, Hannah, thanks so much for having me. To remind you my background, I was the founder and CEO of LearnBest, a financial planning services platform that sold to Northwestern Mutual. And I'm also a certified financial planner and best-selling author on the topic. So I think one of the things, I deeply care about providing accessibility to all of America around their wallet. And I think providing access to the democratized finance platforms like the Publics, the Robinhoods, et cetera, is really important for everyday Americans. But on the flip side, you also have to really make sure that we protect people as they make important decisions around their wallet and make sure that they are not in a position where they're being manipulated or coerced or making really important decisions around their wallet where they don't totally have all the appropriate information. And so I think, I don't think coming out of Washington today, we're going to see any major changes. I think this is the beginning of a very long conversation around the SEC and the CFPB and FINRA and others around how do we make sure that we provide access to Americans while also protecting them. And education is a very big part of that.
Alexa, you're so well versed in this, so I'm so glad you're talking to us about it. Do you think these retail investors and apps like Robinhood need more regulation?
So I think that the short answer is you want to make sure that regulation protects the technology, the stability, the access. On the flip side, there's education, right? If somebody wants to go and burn $20, you can't stop them from doing that. But at certain scales, you want to think about how do we make sure we protect somebody from losing everything that they have. And so I don't know that the regulatory bodies will step in on the education piece, but I think what we care about is making sure that everybody has access. Everybody is as informed as you can possibly make them, and that if they're making a very risky decision, there are 3-4 signals that step out and say, this is a very risky decision. Do you understand that you are doing that before they hit send or order on a trade? And I think that while it's a fair balance, and you've heard big tech and Facebook and all the regulatory desires around big tech. What's great about fintech is, in fact, the SEC has existed for decades. The CFPB has existed now longer than a decade. There are thoughtful bodies in place that are trying to find the right balance of not over-regulating, but also making sure that we protect for the worst outcomes where tens of millions of people could be disenfranchised financially. And so that's the balance. And it's a very complicated one, which is why I think what we're going to see coming out of Washington today is the beginning of years of conversation.
I don't have to tell you, Robinhood was the darling of the fintech startup once upon a time. Do you think people will ever trust this app again?
I mean, I think that is going to be one of the biggest questions. First of all, I do believe if you fast forward 5 years, I think you're going to see 100 million Americans being active around their wallet as it pertains to trading, because so much of the future of your ability to grow your money is investing is critical. I think there's other companies like public.com and other ones that I'm sure you've heard of that now have seen the same surge as Robinhood, but have gone more actively around being PFOF free and being really clear about their alignment to their customers.
What kind of impact, in your opinion, Alexa, does the Biden administration have or has had so far on the VC industry?
Sure. So let's just quickly rewind last month, January, the venture community saw, I'm the managing partner of Inspired Capital, an early stage venture fund out of New York City, where we focus on seed and Series A. Last month alone, $40 billion was invested in the startup ecosystem. Last year alone in the fintech ecosystem, more than, close to 100 checks of $100 million plus went into financial innovation, just to give you an example. And I think President Biden, he's just getting started, right, with his future legislation. And what we will see, innovation is going to be a huge part of his goal and focus for all of the obvious reasons. And I think some of the categories that we're going to see President Biden focus on will be things around clean energy and sustainability, health tech for all, right? We can all now potentially see doctors over Zoom. How do we think about making sure that's safe and secure? Fintech, right? tens of millions of Americans were just seeing literally came online around their wallet. So that's a very important one. How do we think about the innovation there? And then finally, just digital infrastructure. I think broadband, realizing that we want every crevice of our country, children and parents, to be able to access technology in a way where they can provide the best. Ed tech is a final one that I think we'll see a lot around of. And as a mom of three, I've lived through the ed tech of the last year. I think we're going to see a lot of innovation.
Are you concerned at all, Alexa, about legislation over regulation?
I think it's too soon to tell. I think right now President Biden is still having a lot of his appointees and nominees. They still have to, for example, there is no head of the SEC today as this Robin Hood conversation is happening. President Biden's appointee hasn't yet been approved by the House. So it's just too soon to tell. And I think that the goal here is we want to have the appropriate guardrails while also providing the access. And Hannah, I don't have to tell you, the last year has been one of the most interesting and exciting ones for technology. I think as we all saw the massive gaps happening around our world when we all had to go fully digital, those gaps are being filled. And I think in so many ways that means a brighter future for all of us. It really does. I think about my 72-year-old mom who's a nurse who is talking to patients over Zoom, which is incredible, the greater reach people can have. But on the flip side, you also want to think about data, privacy. If everything's online, how do you make sure we protect people? And that is going to be a constant balance of that innovation stool.
We so appreciate your expertise and insight on this, Alexa. We hope you come back to discuss some more. Alexa von Tobel, co-founder and managing partner at Inspired Capital. Thank you again.